teachers. Now, Mack is the representative of an organization that's very important to giving teachers hope, and not just teachers, also students hope and parents hope. Because if there's one thing we've seen in the last few months, we cannot trust the government to represent our interests. We cannot trust them to actually listen to our concerns. Government have shut down Parliament. The Berejiklian government, especially in New South Wales, are not allowing people to air their concerns. Now, when it comes to what's happening in this country, we rely on people who are leaders, people who will speak their mind and will, no matter the consequences, will speak for other people that do not have a voice. Mack is one of those people, and today he is a teacher, and he will be representing 7,000 teachers. Now, Mack, I want to welcome you to the show. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me, Joel. Thank you.
Yeah, look, I mean what I said there. I really do. You know, the amount of people that are too scared to speak up recently is frightening. And when it comes to the people that do speak up, I have the utmost respect for them. Now, teachers in this country, they are looking for hope. They are looking for direction with this thing. And I wanted to take this opportunity to connect you, an excellent person, with the teachers around the country that feel like they don't have a voice. And there's many in my own family that are teachers as well that want a place to go. And that's why if you guys want to find Mack through this interview, if you're impressed by what he's saying, if he's making all the right sounds, go click the links in the description. There's a Telegram group and a Facebook group, and that's the best way you can stay in contact. This is going to be this is the first episode of many episodes where we're going to be looking at different industries and the right people to be speaking to stay informed. So today, we're looking at Mack. We're going to take an insight into what's going on with teachers. Mack, can you get us started by telling us what exactly is going on in the minds of teachers right now? They're not being heard from government. They're not really being represented. Where are things going, and where do you see them going?
All right, thanks, Joel. Look, I'll take you back just a little bit to the start of how this all happened. So really, we've only been about 3 weeks into this fight, into this battle. Now, it all started, it's no secret, it all started on August 27th when the state premier made an announcement that all teachers must be vaccinated before returning to work. So this was just, an assumption that all the teachers were just going to roll up their sleeves, get the jab and go back to work. Now, when I heard this announcement, I thought to myself, well, that's it for me. Okay, I'll be out of a job by the end of this year. I'm not going to do it. And I was just going to fly under the radar, perhaps look for another job, and that's it. But then all of a sudden, there was this coming together of first with a small group of teachers, small group of people, and then this slowly coming together of not just hundreds, but thousands and thousands of teachers, educators, support staff, admin staff, SLSO, chaplains, early childhood educators, tertiary educators, and maintenance staff, even the lollipop person that mans the crossings outside schools. And then something told me we need to do something here, okay? And I wasn't just going to go into the sunset and after a 4-year teaching career, and I've only been in teaching for about 4 years. Prior to that, I had a very different career. As perhaps some viewers would know, I was involved in weightlifting and boxing, and that was it. I became a teacher, and why most of us became teachers or educators or involved in education was for the kids. No other reason. We love our jobs. We love the kids. We love teaching children, or even if we're not teachers, we love supporting them. We love being around them. We want to inspire them. We want to mentor them. We want to give them life lessons. And I think perhaps the number one life lesson that every teacher gives their students is don't succumb to the bullies. Don't be coerced. Don't be led astray. And when you think of our profession, now we've been called everything from anti-vax nut jobs, conspiracy theorists, COVID deniers. We are none of that. Okay, you think about what teachers have to go through to become teachers, okay, or educators. Now, most have to go through university for at least 4 years. Okay, I think now it's 5 years. We need working with children checks. We need police criminal checks. We have to go through an accreditation process every couple of years. So there is a really stringent criteria that we must meet in order to put us in front of those children. So I'd say that when teachers start speaking up and saying, hold on a sec, something just doesn't feel right about this. We shouldn't just be dismissed as crazy nut job conspiracy theorists, anti-vaxxers, and all the rest of that. If anything, we are there to stand up for the principles that we teach those children, and that is never ever allow yourself to succumb to the bullies. Never give up. Always try your hardest. Always dig deep. Don't let anyone point their finger in your face and say this is what you need to do. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to participate in society, such as working, earning an income, going out, being with your friends. And
Mac,
that's really where we're at.
There's no doubt that there's a crisis of leadership and a crisis of courage in this country. I want to pick up on that for a second because this doesn't just relate to teachers and relate to your industry. I want to know where does that come from with you? Why do you run, towards the crowd, against the grain, against the crowd, rather than go with it? What is that about you? Is it from your weightlifting days? Is it from your training days? I want to understand that because once we understand that, I think we can replicate it to other industries and work out where to go.
Joel, it's very simple. When I was a child, through primary school and my early years in high school, and people that know me know what I went through, I suffered at the hands of bullies. The physical, the mental, the emotional abuse I went through from bullies. And the one thing that really stuck out for me was how I didn't really have much support besides from my family and a few teachers. I didn't really have much support. So I had to learn to fend for myself, fight for myself. Naturally, as I got older, into my later teenage years, I got into boxing, I got into weightlifting, I started to look after myself, and I started to realize what it means to stand on your own 2 feet and not rely on anyone else to save you. If you need something done, you've got to do it yourself. I'm not relying on any politician or any other leader to come and save us. We need to save ourselves. This is a fight, okay, that we need to take head on. Why am I doing it? I do it for the kids. I do it for my children. Why do I have the spirit and the courage? Like I said, everything that happened to me as a child, I guess, has brought me to this moment. And I remember when I left school, I said, no one will ever, ever pick on me again. No one will ever tell me what I can and can't do. No one will ever step on me and make me feel inferior or make me feel like an outcast. And that's where it comes from. And I have,
Mm,
the last 20 years, I have spent so many countless hours going to schools, talking to children and teachers about bullying and bullying prevention. And here we
mm,
are now
mm,
faced with the biggest bully of them all. And Joel, I
mm.
need to make this point. We are not
Please.
anti-government.
Mm,
Okay, we're not anti-government at all. We're not anti-politicians at all. Okay, we are not
mm,
political in this at all. We just
mm.
want to protect ourselves and the children because that's where it's heading to. Make no
Yeah.
mistake, that is where it's heading to.
Yeah, and you know what? It's funny because you wonder where are the pro-choice people when it comes to abortion? They're not talking on this topic, and it's sad because whether you agree or not, whether you agree with abortion or not, where is the consistency on this? And when it comes to what's happening in this country, I have been so encouraged, and please tell me if this is what you're seeing as well. I've been so encouraged seeing what the mothers of this country have been saying. If you go and look at what's happening in America, whether you agree with critical race theory or not, which is, I don't agree with it at all. I think it's terrible. But whether you agree with it or not, the way that it's changing and the reason why board members are resigning in these schools is because the parents have stood up and said, no, we're not doing it. And quite often, it's the women that kick the men into gear, the husbands into gear, and say, hey, we need to ring the bell here. This is the kids we're talking about. They're change. This is something we don't agree with. And so similarly in Australia, I've been so impressed with the women speaking up and defending their lion cubs. But are you sort of seeing this as well?
100%. Joel, there is no greater force than the love of a mother and a father. Okay, now I'm a science teacher. Okay, now major in biology. So, and we teach about force, all about forces and the nucleus. And people say to me, Mac, what's the strongest force in the world? And I say the strongest force in the world is love. And when it comes to the love that a mother and a father have for their children and protecting those children, there is no greater force than that. And that is why you're finding a lot more mothers and parents, fathers as well, coming out, speaking up and saying, we're not going to stand for this. Okay, you want to harm us? You want to harm us, the parents? Okay, fine. We'll let you do that. But don't you ever, ever tell us how we need to raise our children, what's best for our children. Now, I have children myself, but if I didn't have children, I'd still be sticking up for the children that I face every single day, because they look at me and they say, sir, why are we going through this? What is happening in the world? And I see the
mm,
despair and the looks on their faces and the sadness, 4 months in lockdown, where they're
mm.
not even able to go out, assemble, be with their friends, be with their grandparents. It is just heartbreaking. The real crisis, the real pandemic hasn't even started yet, Joel. It has not
Mm.
even started.
I'm really worried about that. I've got a book next to me. It's called The Coddling of the American Mind. I might actually grab it. It's a very important book. It's written by a guy named Jonathan Haidt. I've been a huge fan of Jonathan Haidt's work for a long time. The Coddling of the American Mind. This is from Thinking, guys. They have some phenomenal books. I listened to him when he came to Sydney. And not only did he warn about the rising rates in suicide and anxiety and depression in especially young people, especially Generation Z, who are kids that are born after 1995, that includes me, but it's all the kids that people like Mack are teaching and all the teachers are teaching right now. Now, not only are lockdowns destroying them, and thank you for sharing that about what's going on there, but they're also being exposed to more and more social media. Now, if you're at home, your social media usage is going to go up right now. And I'm really sad about that because my DMs, my direct messages in all my social media are flooded. I literally need to hire someone to go through them, which I'm yet to do, and actually go through these stories because it's so sad what's going on. And you know, when I was looking to pressure some parliamentarians to speak up on this topic, I singled out Tanya Davies. Why? Because Tanya Davies spoke up for the people about mandatory jabs and mandatory jabs in employment. And this isn't the first time that she's spoken up. So I said, everyone, send your messages to Tanya Davies. She has a heart. She's transparent. She's honest. She's going to fight like hell for you. Send them to her. And she has been inundated and brought near to tears. This is the size of the pandemic we are facing. It's a shadow pandemic as described by the Australian, and it needs to be addressed. But Mac, you clearly have a genuine concern for the feelings of the kids and where things are going with them. How did you combat this before the pandemic and how are you combating it now? I mean, you can't even see them face to face.
No, we can't. We can't see them face to face. And let's be honest, no matter how much anyone wants to distort the figures, the rate of suicide is up. The rate of depression is up. The phone calls to Kids Helpline or Youth Helpline or any of those lifelines is it's tripled, quadrupled. Okay, the substance abuse is up, alcohol abuse is up, tobacco abuse is up. There is also now a report coming out that more teenagers are dealing with body dysphoria or body image issues, eating disorders. There is so much happening. And, one of the most concerning things for me is this. As teachers, when parents, they send their kids to school, okay, we're there to look after them. They put their trust in us. Now, there are some children that come from families which perhaps aren't as well functioning as we would like. Their only outlet is school. And when they're at school, we're able to see if something's wrong, if something's not right, or how these children are being
Mm,
treated. That isn't happening
yeah.
anymore. For the last 4 months, that has not happened. So what is happening to these children?
Mm,
Are they falling through the cracks? How are they being treated at home? Okay, and this is what concerns me the
yeah.
most. Now, how this, I guess, all started, again, is we're going back to the announcement from the Premier that teachers needed to be vaccinated, otherwise they can't return to work. Now, Joel, I've only been a teacher for 4 years. Okay, so if
Mm,
I have to walk off out of this career, I'll find something else to do. Okay, I'll keep fighting, but I'll find
mm,
something else to do. But there are teachers or people in education, childcare workers that have been working for 30 or 40 years, and you're telling me now that their worth, everything that they have given and dedicated to, the money they have spent, has all come down to if they get a jab or a vaccination before a certain date. Otherwise, that's it. Is that what this they're worth? Is that what this has come to?
It really highlights exactly what they think of you, and it's sad because it's like, is this what our society's come to now? And this is the thing, Mac. I was worried last night. The breaking news was that we're basically ramping up things, and the China and Australia and the US and the UK, things are intensifying basically. Now, a lot of people would think maybe you shouldn't do a stream in the morning, Joel. Maybe you shouldn't talk about this thing. Maybe you've got to wait and see what the news cycle is. And I thought, no, no, not at all. And let me tell you why. Because what's going on in this country is that, and please let me know if you can't hear me, if it's lagging, but what's going on in this country is they have torn our country apart. They have torn it apart. And why on earth should we be talking to each other when the government's just turned each other on each other? Like, we have no obligation to our fellow man after this pandemic. What's been happening? They've destroyed our relationship with the police. They've destroyed our relationship with the actual military as well. And they've turned neighbor on neighbor, man on man. I'm going to write an article on this week because I've been very furious about this. For Scott Morrison to come out and have the gall to say we need to unite as a country because of what's been going on. We need to unite because there's a greater threat coming. Yeah, he's just spent the last 18 months undermining the relationship between man and man, teacher and child. It's ridiculous. I mean, how on earth do they expect to unite a country? And this is why I continue to do this stream right now. And by the way, guys, 1,600 people are listening live right now. That's the same as Channel 7 when they're streaming Gladys Berejiklian's talk. This is real talk. This is really what's going on. This is what real Australians, in fact, over 7,000 teachers are expressing through Mack. And that is why I want to have him on, because we need to pull this country together. We've got a country to save, and our politicians will not do it. Just like in America, we've got a situation where the critical race theory was something that people opposed. They stood up, they made a change, they got elected to their boards, and now they're turning that point around. That's why Turning Point Australia is here. That's the change we're trying to make. And Mac, I'm so thankful you're on. We're going to keep going. But guys, remember, if you want to follow Mac, those are the two links above. You can check him out after the discussion. But Mac, I want to go on with this thought. If you had the Premier's ear for 5 minutes, what would you actually say to her to turn this around?
Joel, the division that is going on in this country, in this state, is, look, we've seen it before. We've seen division before, and we're always trying to be divided. Look, I'm a fan of Roman history, and this is a classic tactic: divide and conquer. They are dividing the people. They try and divide us on religion. They try and divide us on sexuality. They try and divide us on race, on the color of our skin, on who was here first, who came last. They're always trying to divide us. Now, you look at the narrative in the media, you look at the narrative from all the politicians, it is all to do with the vaxxed versus the unvaxxed. Again, they are driving a wedge in between us, in between our neighbours. Snitch on your neighbour if you see them outside of their house without a mask on. What have we come to? And if I had 5 minutes with the Premier, that would be my first thing. How can you stand up there as a leader? Because a leader unites. A leader does not divide. Now, if I'm being put at the front as the leader of this movement, this is what I say to all of us. We're all equal. Okay, there's no up above. We have principals that are on board with us. We have people that clean the school toilets. We're all equal in this battle. But if I have to be the voice and the face of this, I say to each and every one of them, if you know someone that has been vaccinated and they're not on the same page as us, they're not as like-minded as us, I don't want you to judge them. I don't want you to criticize them. I don't want you to outcast them. We will love them. We will support them because we want them to do the same for us. And that is the only way we can actually unite this country again. Because if we stoop down to that level, we're just going to be just like the other side. And that is exactly what I would say to Gladys. And I would ask her, deep in her conscience, really, was it really necessary to come out? Okay, we know a lot about COVID now. Was it really necessary to come out and say, unless teachers or aged care workers or early childhood educators get the vaccine, they will no longer be able to work? Was that really necessary? With everything we know about COVID and who it affects. And this is all the numbers. The numbers don't lie. With
mm,
everything we know, was that
mm,
truly necessary? Was that the right move? What are you trying to get at? Because if they're trying to take us down, the workers, the professions, okay, who comes next? And I've had people say to me, oh, Mac, it's just a jab, just take it and that's it. We can all get back to normal. Where does it end? Where does it end?
mm.
Let's look back in
Exactly.
history. You know,
Mm,
Nazi Germany, Hitler said, look, I just want this little bit of land and that's it. Well, look what happened there. Now, let's look at
mm,
history as an example of when governments say to us, it's just this. We're doing it for your own health and safety.
mm. 100%. And that's the thing, guys. It's not that crazy. I mean, if you go and look at what's going on in Israel, they're up to their third jab. They're up to their third booster jab. As of the 1st of September, that's like 15 days ago. As of the 1st of September, if you have not had your third jab because they were ahead of the curve on this, guys, then you are not allowed in polite society. You cannot leave your home. That's ridiculous. And if anyone, and this is the irony of it, if anyone understood the lessons of World War II and how people can get demonized. In fact, I was watching an older lady get arrested there, guys. And by the way, I can see it's sort of glitching. Let me know, Mac, if you're not hearing what I'm saying. I remember listening to a video of these people actually gathering around this old woman getting arrested for not wearing a mask. And all these Jews, they were calling the cops Nazis. Now, if they're calling them Nazis, I don't want to question their experience. I think they're damn right. I think what's going on is we are on the path of destruction. And unless the Australian people seize control of their future, then we're going to go like Israel. That's what's going to happen. Israel is a fallen state. That's what's going on over there. The people have failed to stand up. And
Yeah.
maybe they can still turn around, but we do not want to become like that. There's a lot of Americans looking to what's going on in Australia. They're horrified. Now, Mac, there's a lot of teachers they're watching this with a lot of hope, and they've got a lot of hope in what's happening in the future, and they're encouraged by the groundswell of support. If there's a teacher listening right now, and I know there are many that are going to lose their job in the coming weeks, what would you tell them as advice?
Don't give up. Okay. Do not give up because we're this close. We're this close to making some change. We are being heard. There is a lot of good people on our side behind the scenes. Okay. And we're receiving a lot of positive correspondence from good people, okay, in high positions that are on our side that are supporting us. And they understand all we want is just our basic human right to choose. And the other thing, I need to make this point very clear to teachers and educators, is there are so many other professions, so many other industries now that have contacted me that are jumping on board. The police, we have New South Wales Police. There are over 200 police policemen and women who are joining this fight. There are over 250 firers from New South Wales Fire and Rescue who are joining this fight. There are paramedics who are joining this fight, nurses, and I'm not just talking about one or two. I'm talking in the hundreds, some in the thousands. There is hope, and we must not give up, because if we give up and we let them get through us, they will come for the children. Okay, now I'm not anti-vax. I teach about immunization. I teach about virology. I understand it. Okay, but there is choice. There is risk and there is choice. And where there is risk, there must be choice. It's like when 5 years ago, I put my hand through a rusty nail. I went to the doctor. He outlined for me what the risks are. I had a choice. Do I take the tetanus shot or not? I took the tetanus shot. Fine. I've visited third world countries. I've assessed that risk. I had to have some shots when I visited different third world countries. That was my choice. I assessed the risk. Now, going back to COVID, we know the risks. Okay, we know the risks now. Okay, and while there's a lot of alarmism going on about it, we're not denying that there isn't a virus. But let's just put it into context. We've had just over 1,000 deaths, okay, of COVID in this country. In the same time period, we've had over 200,000 Australians die of other causes. But where is their press conference? Children
Mm,
dying every day in the wards of the Children's Hospital from
mm.
leukemia, and you have parents that have to set up GoFundMe pages to pay for their certain treatment that they can't get in this country. Let's put things
Mm.
into perspective.
Mm. I think that there's a big problem in the country with a lot of people don't understand death because they don't see it a lot. And every day, guys, just to put into perspective, as Max said, 400 people die every day. That's the reality. You know, at the most we've had is 12 deaths a day in New South Wales. That's the most. And here we are talking about all of this. Now, of course, guys, every sickness, every death is a tragedy. But we are on this earth for only a short period of time. Atheist, Jew, Muslim, Christian, we've all got to recognize that. And if we're going to live in fear, and if we're going to forego funerals, weddings, baptisms, all of these things, the biggest things we celebrate in life, Christmas, the Muslim traditions, the Christian traditions, the Jewish traditions. If we're going to forgo all of those things, what are we living for? Those are the highest experiences for people to enjoy, the most valuable things in life, and we've forgone them for 2 years. I feel sorry for anyone trying to plan a wedding. I've had to go to two funerals, one for my own father and another for my grandmother. We couldn't. There could have been 3,000 people at these places, and we could only have about 75 people, depending on how big the church is. That's not okay. That is not okay. I can't even, go to the cemetery to visit people. Now, I don't want to make this about me, guys, but there's a lot of people that resonate with this because there's been a lot that's happened this last 2 years. Now, Mac, bringing it back to the teachers, um, specifically the children, there's a lot of parents listening that are worried about the mandatory jab coming for the children. What would you tell them?
It's time to speak up and stand up. Now, for a long period of time, we haven't, we didn't want to ruffle any feathers. We didn't want to rattle the cages. We didn't want to offend anyone. We didn't want to, we know that people are sensitive. We didn't want to put our names to anything. We've been using fake social media accounts because, we don't want to be judged on our opinion. That has to stop. Okay, that has to stop. The time has come where all the lions, okay, all the lions, all the warriors, all the wolves, we must stand up. We must speak up. We must do it correctly. Okay, we're not breaking any laws. We're not
Mm,
breaching any code of conducts. Everything we
mm,
do is above board, but we must speak up. If not for
mm,
yourself, for your children, okay, and
mm,
for your grandchildren. Now is not the time to worry about offending other people or worrying if someone's going to judge you or criticize you because of a belief or an opinion that you have. Look where that has got us in the last 18 months. We are being squashed because we are being considered as the minority, as the minor nut job, anti-vax, conspiracy theorists, COVID deniers, uh,
mm,
whatever. Okay, the
mm,
time for that has to stop. You need to put yourself forward. You need to hold your head up high, stand up straight, get your hands out of your pocket, find your backbone, okay, and start using your voice, start using your mind, start using your heart, okay, because you think about everything that they've done to us, that they've taken away from us in the last 18 months. Think about what the next 18 months is going to look like if we just continue to do what we do.
mm. Mate, that was beautiful. And look, when it comes to the what's going on with the teachers, speak up, guys. I'm giving you everything you need. Everything you need. You've got Mac. Mac will take care of you. He'll tell you exactly what we need to do at what time as teachers, and you guys can get results that way. That's what you need. It's lacked coordination this last 12 months. People haven't sort of had that direction because they look to their institutions, and the institutions are nowhere to be found. The unions are nowhere to be found. The politicians are nowhere to be found, and every other institution that's meant to protect liberty in this country are gone. That's why I'm here. That's why Mac is here, because we've risen to the surface to let people know that there's a crisis of courage in this country and that we need to speak up. And that's the reality, guys. Now, Mac, when it comes to the situation with the premier, do you think that things are going to open up for schools relatively soon? Because there's a lot of people very keen to get the kids back into school.
Well, not according to the roadmap. Tomorrow's the last day of term three. We have 2 weeks holiday, and then the last sector of school children that go back won't be until I think week 5 or 6. So really, that's half of term four. So you can say half of term four will definitely be done at home. Some schools might stagger that as well, depending on what they've got going on. So some kids might be at home for even longer, but you can definitely wipe out half of term four. We do 4 or 5 weeks then of the rest of term four, and then we're on school holidays again for 6 or 7 weeks. Um, that is a lot of time for children to have missed out, not only on the education side of school, but just the social aspect of it, the interaction with their friends, the interaction with their teachers, with other people, their ability to perhaps confide in a teacher, face to face about certain things that are going on in their lives. That's been lost. And
Mm,
like I said, this year we'll probably get half of term four, and then we're on holidays again. Hopefully by then, for the school holidays, for the sake of these children, they're able to go out, go to the movies, hang out at a shopping centre, go to the parks, kick a ball around, do whatever. Hopefully they'll get that back, and we can start next year, okay,
mm,
on a clean slate. And mark my word, okay, all the teachers that are worried, and there's 8,500, okay, educators and parents on our group. Mark my word, okay, if we don't give up, we can win this, and we will all have a job to go back to, okay, at the by
mm,
the middle of term four and by next year. Because Joel, we love our jobs. I love my job. I love where I work. I love the school where I
mm,
work. I love my colleagues. I really do, and I'm sure most teachers do as well. Now, who knows what's going to happen to me? Generally when you're at the front, at the forefront of some sort of a movement,
mm.
chances are you can get a tap on the shoulder and you've brought
Yeah.
a lot of heat on. But it doesn't matter anymore. It doesn't matter because once they take that one freedom of choice from you,
Mm, mm.
that's it. You've lost. There's no
That's
going
it.
back.
Yeah, and it's not even about us anymore. I mean, we're looking at repercussions for generations to come. I was just thinking early last year. I've been a lockdown skeptic for a very long time. In June, July last year, I was still working in construction, and I listened to this excellent interview at the Hoover Institute by a guy named Dr. Scott Atlas. Now, Dr. Scott Atlas, he's not no one. He ended up advising President Trump in America on White House policy, and he was brought in to bring a more sensible approach to lockdowns. One of the warnings he said, and just to show you that science backs you, one of the warnings he said with lockdowns in the US, because they were in the middle of winter, they were finding that schools were the number one place to pick up on if a child was being assaulted at home or sexually assaulted at home or whatever, because they could be like, oh, that's, they've been with the kid for a year. They're like, okay, I've noticed that kid's playing up today. I wonder what's going on in the back of him. He seems off. Teachers do that. It's the number one place to pick up on that, and government just shut that down. And meanwhile, we're told, from Lifeline and from other organizations that their calls and the assaults and the criminal statistics are skyrocketing with these sorts of crime, with domestic violence. Yeah, where are all the domestic violence crew? Where the hell are they? Nowhere to be found. And my question is why? What happened? These If you can't defend the kids, then I don't know what you stand for. You don't stand for anything. And Mac, more power to you, because this is an absolutely critical topic. And when it comes to what's going on in this country, I'm very encouraged when I see people like yourself. I think I think that whether you lose your job or not, Mac, for speaking up, and let's be frank, guys, he's putting himself out there. Like this for most people that put themselves out there like this, it's not easy. So if you think you can get on camera and just do it, the repercussions are coming. I mean, I get visits from the cop, all the time just for speaking my mind on the steps of town hall. That is the price. That is the price of freedom. And Ronald Reagan once said that freedom is only one generation away from being rendered extinct. He said that a lot more eloquently. Mac, I really feel for any teachers. I really feel for the kids going through this right now. I really do. What in these groups? What specifically are you going to be telling people to actually do to voice their concerns?
Well, we every day we set out some tasks for our teachers, our educators, all the workers that work under that same banner of education and parents as well. We set out tasks every single day, contacting different ministers, contacting different education associations, governing bodies, the unions. We always give them a task to do so we can make some noise. The point is that we just want to be heard. And I honestly think that these people that make these decisions for us think that we are such a small minority that we don't exist. But if we can just unite everyone and make a lot of noise on all different fronts, people are going to start to take notice. Now, we have many crises in this state or in this country. One of them is leadership. Okay, the other one is a shortage in good education staff. And the third one is the mental health of these children. Now, I speak to a chaplain who works at another school, and he does some work with Lifeline, and he said to me that before COVID, okay, a week Lifeline would attend to 16 cases a week, in what they call emergency cases, life-threatening cases where they needed police or paramedics to get to someone or someone's house before self-harm or before suicide. That was averaging 16 a week. It is now over 35 a week. So it's doubled. It's more than doubled. And I'm sure it's going to get a lot worse. That is the real pandemic that is coming. That is the real crisis that is coming. But all we can do, okay, we are foot soldiers on the ground. All we can do is just every day these little tasks so we're heard. We're making phone calls, we're writing letters, conducting these interviews. And to give another quote, because I get asked all the time, Mac, you could have just gone off under the radar into the sunset. You didn't need any of this. But no, I did need it. Okay, because like G.K. Chesterton once said, we don't fight because we hate what's in front of us. We fight because we love what's behind us. Okay, and what is behind us? What is behind us are people that are suffering, children, teenagers, parents, grandparents suffering. And that is why we do what we do. And what legacy are we going to leave behind? This is the legacy that we leave behind. This is the hill. This is the hill that I've chosen to die on, to fight on, and to leave this legacy for my children, my grandchildren, that when they look at me in the eye and I look at them in the eye, I can say I did something. I fought the good fight. I don't know where I know where it's going to go. We're going to win. Okay, and it might there might be some short-term pain, but I can tell you now, if everyone unites, we will win.
100%, and I totally believe that. A lot of people, they think that, oh yeah, no, it's fine. Mac and Joel will do all the hard work. No, 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 no. You can still lose. Don't get me wrong, guys. 100%. But we will win in time because things will get so bad that you will have to stand up. And at what point you choose to stand up will reduce the amount of pain that we go through. So the sooner the better, guys. And just as a throwback, the reason why I have these seats in the background, this is the show that I started, guys. I started this a year ago to warn you guys because I didn't want us to go through this pain. But here we are. We're here because not everyone stood up back then and said no. There were protests back then when protesting was legal. And on the 5th of September, we had the first big one. 3,000 people showed up. Why didn't 20,000 show up? Why didn't 100,000 show up? If a little bit of just one day, it was just one day of your time, we could have prevented all of this. And that's the point, guys. But we can't lament on what's happened in the past. We have to learn from it. And today we need everyone to stand up because that's the reality. Mac, I almost want to finish it there because you were really, that was an amazing finish. I'm going to find that quote from Chesterton. He's easy. I love him. He's brilliant. Mac, is there anything else you felt like that the people really need to hear that we haven't covered in this interview yet?
There's hope. Don't give up hope. Joel, I've been following you from day one, from your very first show when you were hosting the Arc. People like you decided to put yourselves out there and speak up. Okay, I came late to the party. A year later, I was on board. Everyone finds it in their own time. They find their courage in their own time, and that's all we're asking. We're just asking that everyone just finds that little bit of courage to speak up and stand up and come together. No more snitching on your neighbours, no more dobbing on someone, no more hating on people because they've got a different view than yours. Okay, that is not what we're about. Okay, we need to stop looking at each other and fighting each other and start looking, okay, at what's in front of us, because that's where
Mm,
the danger and the damage is coming from. Okay, so
mm,
we need leaders. We really, really need leaders. Be brave, be
mm,
courageous, speak up, because
mm,
things are not going to go back to normal. Things will never go
mm,
back to pre 2020. Those days are gone. But we can look to such a bright and beautiful and prosperous future for ourselves, for our families, for our children. Okay, we can
mm,
build better. It can be better than what it was.
mm.
Let's not just settle for this, just for our minds and our thoughts and our hearts to be shackled under
Yeah,
this draconian
yeah.
tyranny.
Mm. Absolutely, and you're absolutely right. Things aren't going to go back to normal. If you want to know, guys, exactly what's going to happen, this pandemic stuff is going to come be with us forever. The Mu variant, resistant to vaccines. Wow, that's just in time for Pfizer to release a pill. Would you look at that? It's become like a Netflix subscription. So, guys, if you want to know exactly what it's going to look like, look at past events. We had 9/11 20 years ago. And what are the lasting impacts of that? The police, the uh, the intelligence agencies were given a lot more powers. They're able to surveil us. Technology's improved, and it's used to crack down on freedom of speech. We see these new um, person of interest units that are set up, and they crack down on journalists that I disagree with, but I will support their right to, I'll defend the right to the death of me to defend their free speech, like Friendly Jordy's producer, where they came to his house. These are the lasting impacts that happen. And we're going to be stuck with some of these measures for a long time and maybe even passports. And if we do not stand up now, then where are we going to go? Got Mac, more power to your right arm. I really appreciate you coming on. You're an absolute legend. I have the utmost respect for anyone speaking up because it is a high risk thing. If you guys want to follow Mac, the links are in the description. If you are a teacher, Mac, is the Facebook group for everyone or for just teachers?
No, no, it's for everyone. Look, concerned citizens. We say concerned citizens, parents, educators, anyone that falls under educators or concerned citizens. Everyone
Mm,
can get on board, and we ask everyone that does get on board, they've got to chip in. Okay, not money. We don't
mm,
we don't want any money. I mean, chip in your manpower, your mind, your heart, your voice. That's what we want you to chip in.
Mac, you're an absolute legend. Thank you so much for what you're doing. Guys, there's 1,700 people listening right now, which is more than the Prime Minister is getting, I'm told, in the comments. So if all of you guys gave this a share, it would go bigger than even CNN in America. It would go massive. So give it a share, guys. Get it out there. Mac's words are that of the average Australian, the average teacher, but he's not an average man. He's a lion trying to protect the kids that he is teaching to. And the guy is a scientist. He's not stupid. He teaches science rather. And Mac, more power to you, man. Thank you so much for making time for me. And guys, tune in. Remember to share, like it, get it out there. Follow Mac and follow his Telegram, especially because big tech are after him. Thanks so much, Mac. I hope you have a very good day.
Thanks, Joel. Thank you. Love your work, mate.
Awesome. Ciao, guys.